Good evening.
Kohomada Bhante?
Honday ginawa.
Ika honday.
Where is Mr. Ganipula?
You know, this is the Christmas time, so he has office functions.
Okay. Actually, I have to get back into my.
Okay, Bhante.
Yeah. Let's see. Judah, where are you? Help me out here. I always have this problem of getting out of that YouTube thing.
Just in case, because next week I'm of course. So yeah, I want you to try. Maybe you try it. Did you fix it, Bhante? What is it? The problem?
I think I fixed it to get out of that YouTube feedback thing.
Yeah. So you just close the window that was behind there. Good job. Yeah. We're watching. There's nothing else open. That's the main thing. Don't want any browsers open in the background. That's what happens. So that'll pop up behind that.
I just close off that window.
Yeah, Bhante seems to figure that out. Right, Bhante, you figured out just have to close the other browser window when you get that in that loop. So that's okay.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
Hello, Victoria.
Hi, Bhante. Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, friends, let's go ahead and start with reciting the Namo Tassa and the three refuges for those who like to join. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Good evening, everyone, to this Wednesday evening's Dhamma discussion and meditation practice. So this evening we are going to continue on in our study or review of the Mahachattari Sutta, which is the sutta on what is called the Great 40. Now, we went over most of the sutta in the last week, and I hope most of you were either there or you got the mailing on Monday with the attachment and were able to read that sutta, because it takes several readings to kind of understand that sutta. But basically, it revolves around the Noble Eightfold Path, and especially around how right view is the first step of the Noble Eightfold Path, and that there's two other factors that are considered to be the most important ones with right view. That means right view, right effort, and right mindfulness. Those are considered to be the three, what Bhante Gunaratana calls the three pillars of the Eightfold Path. You could imagine, let's say, a house with, the rafters being the 8 steps or the 5 steps of the Eightfold Path, but the three pillars that hold up the rest of the Eightfold Path are right view, right effort, and right mindfulness. So we talked about that already last week. But this week we didn't really go into what is the actual meaning of the Great 40. So the title of this sutta is the Mahachattari Sutta, and that Mahachattari means the Great 40. That means there's 40 sort of aspects to it, and that's what's difficult for people to understand just on a cursory kind of reading or examination of the sutta. But it stands basically, there's 20 of those factors are the wholesome factors that constitute the Noble Eightfold Path, and the 20 factors that eliminate the unwholesome aspects, or what do you call the unwholesome factors. So again, that's a little bit, I'm just going to briefly review it. But, And in the sutra, it says, the right view comes first. So the right view, as we all understand, is the first step of the Eightfold Path. Because we have to have some understanding of what we're going to do if we want to practice the Eightfold Path. So right view is, I'm not going to go into all the details of the right view, but basically there's what are called the mundane right view, or the mundane Eightfold Path, and the supramundane Eightfold Path. And so the right view of the mundane Eightfold Path, or what we call the ordinary view of anybody who's not attained the first stage of enlightenment, they are practicing the mundane Eightfold Path, which considers as the right view as understanding about karma, understanding about the rebirth, understanding about, there's good actions and bad actions and the result of our actions, and other wholesome aspects of, like practicing generosity, that, these things have value and are considered to be ways of developing and strengthening our mind. But basically, right view overcomes what is called the wrong view. And the wrong view are sort of the opposites of the right view. Basically, right view means understanding the Four Noble Truths. The right view of the suffering, the different aspects of suffering, and what is the cause of suffering. That means the ignorance and the craving and the accumulation of negative karma that has brought all of our problems and sufferings in this life, and which generate even the rebirth. So that's the right view is normally defined as understanding the Four Noble Truths, even from the mundane level, intellectual, let's say the intellectual level. So the wrong view helps to overcome, the right view helps to overcome the wrong view. And then a right intention helps to overcome wrong intention. Right speech helps to overcome wrong speech. And right, action helps to overcome wrong action, and with the rest of the factors of the Eightfold Path. And so anyway, coming back to these 20 factors on the wholesome side, actually, we talk about the Eightfold Path, but actually there's a tenfold path. The supramundane Eightfold Path is actually the supramundane tenfold path. But only the Arhat has accomplished these extra 2 steps, which constitute the 9th and 10th steps of the path. So the Eightfold Path is, the mundane. The people practicing who have not reached the stage of a Sotapanna are practicing the Eightfold Path. Person who is practicing has reached the stage of the Sotapanna and onwards to the full enlightenment are practicing the tenfold path. That means right knowledge and right liberation. And so it takes some extra study to understand that. So that's why this can be confusing to people who have not studied the teachings, very much. So the tenfold right factors are again, right view all the way through the right deliverance, being the 10th. And then the wholesome states that originate from each of those wholesome states. That means the wholesome states that originate from them. So they're the path factors themselves, like right view, and then the wholesome qualities that come out of having right view, and then the right intention, the wholesome factors that come from having the right intention, and then right speech, So anyway, this may be a little bit confusing to people, but and then the 20 wrong factors. So there's 10 are the 10-fold right factors, and then the wholesome states that arise from each of those 10 wholesome factors. And then there's the 20 wrong factors, wrong view through wrong deliverance. Because, that's why the Buddha left his former teachers and went to, discover his own teaching about the Eightfold Path. So the Buddha had been practicing with the Vedic sages who had the idea of Brahma and Atman, the soul, and especially their meditation on formless jhanas. So he practiced that, but it didn't satisfy him, and he understood that was a limited kind of liberation. It wasn't total liberation from samsara. So he called that wrong deliverance. Just being born in the Brahma realms is being wrong deliverance. And then, of course, other religions that we would interpret that just talk about a rebirth in a heaven for eternity, that would be considered wrong deliverance, wrong knowledge, and wrong deliverance from the Buddha's point of view, from the Dhamma point of view. Now, people might say, well, that's a lot, arrogance or conceited, thinking every religion has their different viewpoints on life and the way you practice them, or what the benefit you get from them. But the Dhamma is very, particular. That's why it's not considered like an ordinary type of religion based on, around an idea of a creator being and so on. Anyway, so those are the 20 factors of the right view and the wholesome states that come from them, and the 20 factors of the wrong view and the wrong states that arise from them. So that's why it's called the Great 40. Those 20 factors and the other 20 factors constitute or make 40 factors, which is the Great 40, which is the meaning of the Great 40. That means you use the right view to overcome the wrong view and all the rest of it, wrong view, and you develop then the right view, which culminates in, the experiencing the supramundane path and, liberation from samsara. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit more now about the right view, or what I mentioned as the deepest meaning of the supramundane right view. And, the teachings of the Buddha, the cornerstone of the teachings of developing insight, are the insight into impermanence, suffering, and no self. And no self is really the deepest level or meaning of a right view. Having the right view that the five aggregates, that means our body and mind and everything in the world, don't have any definite owner or controller, and they're just created out of causes and conditions. And the idea of a permanent owner of your mind, or the idea of a soul, usually when people talk about a soul, they believe, or at least in certain religions, they say, your soul is going to go to heaven and live in eternity with you're God or something like that. There's different beliefs like that. Or your soul is going to go to hell for eternity. Well, what they mean by that usually is it's the idea of their self, that their idea of, like right now you have the feeling that you're a somebody there. You're somebody. You're born somewhere, you have your identities and so on. So, that feeling of I, or what the different aspects of I, me, or mine, which is in our consciousness, that is, basically, the clinging to that theory of self, thinking that that is something static and eternal. I mean, there's different beliefs in it and exactly what it is, and so on. But that's the key to the liberation and the clinging to the sense of the self, which is Sakkaya Ditthi. So the fetters that hold our mind to samsara, the first and biggest one is the Sakkaya Ditthi, the belief that I am the owner of this body is mine, my feelings are mine, my perceptions are mine, and you identify your whole world is identified around your self-identity. I am somebody, I'm going to live so many, decades, or, I'm going to, all the different aspects of your life. You grow up and you're, a toddler, a teenager, and then a young adult, and you have various jobs, and you identify yourself as a doctor or a lawyer or a housewife or a monk, right? So anyway, this is identity. Is there's some, our self is in there, and this self is we live to satisfy this self. We have our desires, the sensual desires. We have our aversions. And we live to protect ourselves from dangers and harm and pain. And in order to do that, we seek out, sensual pleasures and so on. And we may have children, we want them to continue our name, or our history into the future. So all of these things help to solidify the feeling of self. But it's the self that also suffers. And so that's, the clinging to that is said to be the deepest level of the ignorance. Because of that, the self is what is, generates craving and grasping and becoming. All of our actions are oriented around that, all the karma that we create. So that's why that until one has really understood the illusion of the sense of self and how we go on recreating it every moment of our life through our identity and our actions, and it's based on this wrong view, this deepest level of the wrong view of self. So that's what that's the main focus of the meditation. Now I've already talked about and explained how this sense of self has come to be with the baby. I'm not going to go over and re-explain it again, but the young baby's not born with the developed sense of I, me, or mine. But it gradually accumulates that after it's about 6 months old. It starts learning language. People start giving it things, and then it starts to want more, and that just snowballs through the whole life. So most people don't understand how that happened. No one's ever explained to the person how that has happened. But the Buddha has explained that. And understanding how it's clinging to that sense of self that actually causes us to continue to create the karma and to get this I more entangled in the tangle. So the deepest meaning of the super mundane right view is having that experience of no self. And that's the hallmark of becoming a sotapanna. Through the development of insight meditation and tuning your attention into the flow of impermanence. That's why normally the perception of impermanence is considered the sort of the way that we're able to get that experience of no self. Because in other sutras, the Buddha has talked about the perception of impermanence leads to the uprooting of that sense of the self. And it's, through the practice of vipassana meditation. I'm not going to go into the details of that now. There's recorded talks on that, how specifically developing the perception of impermanence sort of allows the mind to transcend out of that self-oriented consciousness to attain the experience of no self. And that's the experience that a sotapanna has when a person enters the stream. They destroy that belief in a self. And that's the hallmark of the deepest level. And that becomes the supramundane path. That is when a person is starting to actually practice the supramundane eightfold path, is when they have that understanding of no self, of impermanence and no self and suffering. That direct glimpse of the Four Noble Truths. And so, that's why, the sense of self is the deepest level within our consciousness, the deepest sort of vibration of our consciousness is this sense of self is ingrained in that. Because actually our memory of childhood memories start when we started developing our sense of self. And then we remembered, oh, this happened to me when I was 3 years old. This happened to me when I was 4 years old. Before that, you don't have any memory normally. That most of the people, even in your own experience, try to go back and find out the first kind of memories that you can remember in your mind when you're childhood. For me, it was around 3 or 4 years old. That's about as far back as I can remember clearly something that happened. But before that, because the sense of self was not fully developed yet, we can't remember it normally. So anyway, so that's how this, the ego is there at the very beginning of our life and consciousness, our mind being stuck or caught in the dualistic subject-object consciousness. And then all of the karma, the baby starts crawling around and grabbing this and this and that. That's the development of this craving and grasping. It's starting to want the things that it's experiencing. Before that it could crawl and so on, I didn't really do that. Anyway, so that's why in the Vipassana meditation that, the Buddha had us, and the self is oriented around the 5 aggregates of clinging. That means the material form, which includes our body. We look at our body and we say, that's me, that's mine, that's my body. We are saying that, that's their body. And then the feelings that you have, painful and pleasant feelings. Your whole life revolves around trying to get away from unpleasant, painful feelings and to get more and more pleasurable feelings. The whole life revolves around that. And so there's that, that craving for those feelings or the craving to get away from them. And then our perceptions, that means what we see and how we remember things and our memory. And then our actions, karmic actions. But these are all created through the past conditioning. That's the thing. And it's it's almost impossible to understand that without meditating, without gaining some form of levels of mindfulness and concentration, in order to have a detachment from what we are experiencing, and be able to look at these five aggregates and seeing how it's our clinging to them that keeps us trapped, that keeps our mind trapped in the web of karmic creation. And probably the most repeated phrase that the Buddha used to mention in his Dhamma talks was, you're to regard these five aggregates as this is not me, this is not mine, this is not myself. This body is not me, not mine, not myself. These feelings are not me, not mine, myself. Perceptions of volitional formations, and then even the consciousness is not me, not mine, not myself. Now, it's fairly easy to detach from the body, maybe, and say, okay, the body's not myself, the parents produced it, right, and so on. And then even these painful and pleasant feelings, okay, they're not myself. And you can see kind of that and how they're impermanent. But everything else could disappear. I mean, you can get into a deep state of concentration where the feeling of your body might dissolve. You're no longer reacting to pleasurable, painful sensations, like in the jhanas. And the mind is no longer really thinking. But still, at the very deepest subtle level, there's a sense of I am. I'm a good meditator. I'm reaching that deep state of tranquility. And so that's the last thing, the last frontier, so to speak, to break through, is that last subtle veil of I, me, and mine. And that is really, the purpose and function of developing the four foundations of mindfulness, developing the 7 factors of enlightenment, in order to have that breakthrough experience of actually experiencing that total vanishing of the sense of self, even if it's just for a momentary flash or a little bit longer. But even just a split second is like a bolt of lightning coming into the mind. And it opens up that darkness to the light of the truth. Anyway, so I just wanted to mention that that's really the deepest aspect of the right view, the supramundane right view. But it's one of the hardest levels to reach. That's why the Buddhists had us start out with, first of all, understanding the mundane right view that keeps our mind locked into its negative actions and so on. It makes it difficult to meditate. And then by practicing the mundane eightfold path, the mundane right intention, so you deliberately develop the intention to practice metta, to practice generosity, to practice compassion, and then you make the effort to practice right speech, to substitute the wrong speech for right speech and right action. So, and this produces its mundane benefits. It means you have less guilt, worry, remorse, and fear from doing wrong actions. So that's a mundane benefit. That's why it's called the mundane eightfold path. And the mundane benefits from practicing the mundane eightfold path, but it allows you, it's the preparation for eventually being able to experience the supramundane eightfold path with those levels of deep insight. So anyway, now having said all that, because I've talked about these things many times over in the past, but because it's so deep for the average person to understand, you have to go over it and study it over and over and over again to really try to understand it. And That's why just a cursory examination of the suttas is usually, not enough, and that you have to be able to see how all the different pieces of the puzzle, so to speak, all the different aspects of the Eightfold Path and the practices of meditation and all the other things that you read about and all the lists of, wholesome mental states. You have to understand how they fit together in the big picture of suffering and how to get out of the suffering. Okay, friends, so I'm going to finish here with this sort of conclusion of this sutta, but I want to have time to open it up to any questions that you might have. So where's my chat box? My chat box seemed to have disappeared.
Bhante,
Yes.
when there is wrong view, when wrong view comes to mind, it's really hard to, we know that this is the right view is this way, but it's hard to put it to the right view, right, Bhante? How to do that?
Well, it's hard if you don't know how to do it, or if you haven't practiced it. Yes, it is. Because until you've seen how tricky the mind is and how it tricks you into doing things that you don't want to do, then it's going to be very difficult to be able to gradually change the wrong view. And actually, the wrong view is not changed until you actually reach Sotapanna, because that's the real definition of right view, is the right view of the Four Noble Truths, especially from the supramundane aspect. Because the Buddhas have mentioned that too quite a lot in different suttas. I can't find the chat box on my taskbar anymore.
Click under more here. Under onto the far right where it says more.
More? It used to be a separate one by itself.
But if you put more, yes, you can see it.
The top again. No, one more.
Oh, it used to be a separate one by
Yeah,
itself.
try again. You did quite a chat. Just hit the top. There you go. Up to the very top where it says chat. Where it says chat. Yeah, click on that. Yeah.
Oh. Learning new things all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, this question is, you call Buddhism a religion, some call it a dogma or philosophy. Which is correct? How did the Buddha consider it? Well, it depends on what you define as religion, not Webster's dictionary. Now, you can make it a religion if you want to. I don't have any qualms with calling Buddhism a religion, but I understand how it's practiced and what the result is. So, other people think we get attached to the terms, right? But I would say it's a scientific viewpoint of the mind and the nature of suffering. So, I don't know if it fits any of those categories. It could fit all of them or none of them, depending on the way a person interprets it, basically. So the Buddha called it the Dharma. He didn't call it Buddhism. The Buddha never mentioned the word Buddhism. He said, I'm going to teach you Dhamma. And Dhamma basically is what he discovered in his meditation, the nature of suffering. So people will make a religion out of it, but the Buddha, didn't necessarily, he was teaching people how to attain freedom from suffering, and call it what you will. He just called it Dhamma, and called it suffering and the end of suffering. That's what he taught. A lot of people would come to the Buddha and accuse him of believing in different things. He said, look, I teach you two things, suffering and the end of suffering. That's all I teach. And if you look through his teaching, then that's what, all of his teachings are based on that, on the Four Noble Truths. Understand what suffering is, what is the cause of suffering, that there can be an end to suffering, and the way to live, think, and meditate will bring an end to suffering. Is there any more than that? Okay, I guess that's the end of the chats. Damon, you have a hand up?
Yes, thank you. This Buddhist professor, Jay Garfield, wrote a book called How to Lose Yourself or something like that. So he proposed, among other techniques, something called analytical meditation. And he gave an example where he contemplates the emptiness of an object. Anyway, I don't understand. What does that mean, analytical meditation? It sounds different than what we do here.
No, absolutely. It is analytical meditation. You're analyzing what is the body and mind. It's analyzing it into the four elements, analyzing the body into just molecules and atoms, which form up all matter. It's analyzing painful and pleasant sensations as just being conditioned and impermanent. You're analyzing the five aggregates. It's analytical. That's the way the Buddha analyzed it. The sixfold sense sphere, the five aggregates. He analyzed the path to enlightenment as the seven factors of enlightenment. That is analytical.
Okay, so like
he was a scientist. He analyzed this body and mind because he could observe it.
Great. So for those of us who are more analytical, if we want to do an analytical, we can just read one of these suttas instead of doing breath meditation.
Sure, you can read until you go blind, but that doesn't mean you're going to have the mental powers to actually change the mind and to get down to the deepest levels of the consciousness and understand the no self. That's what the meditation does. So the analytical is hopefully to give us the motivation to actually want to practice the direct observation. The right view, again, there's three levels of it. Intellectual right view, that would include the analysis. Also the Chintamaya Panya, the thinking about it, would also include that sort of analysis, but at some point, the analysis stops and you have direct observation. The same way as a scientist could analyze, the body and, blood cells and have an idea of what's going on. But when he actually looked into a microscope and actually saw the microscopic movements of cells and DNA and molecules and even atoms, then he get a much deeper understanding, right?
Right.
Okay, well, that's what the meditation provides, that deepest understanding.
Thank you.
Bhante, there's another question from somebody in the chat. It was the top one.
I'm having trouble moving my chat thing. I don't know, so I couldn't see any other questions in there. Can you read it to me?
The faculty of discernment, the strength of discernment, the analysis of qualities as a factor for awakening, the path factor of right view. Which is discerning, which is analyzing relative to each other? Or what is analyzing relative to each other?
I wish I could read that. I don't. Why can't I read this?
It's from Francis, so I don't know if he wants to explain more what it means.
There you go.
Oh. Yeah, okay, this question is about that. The Buddha mentions the faculty of discernment, the strength of discernment, analysis of qualities. That's a factor of awakening. That's what's called actually the second factor of enlightenment is called Dhammavichaya. And that means investigation of the Dhamma. You know, the way the Buddha did. He sat down, what is this body? What's it made of? And that's how we saw it. It was just cells, atoms, molecules, you know, creating these four elements of earth, water, fire, and air, and how everything, the mind creates everything out of those vibrations. That's the analysis. But it wasn't just that. It was because he had the jhanic power. He had that concentration of the jhana to actually see, like looking down through an electron microscope. So yeah, that's thanks for putting up that quote there, Francis, about that, where the Buddha mentions these analysis. But that's part of the Chintamaya Panya.
Thank you, everybody. I don't get any.
Okay, friends, I think we'll go ahead and bring this to a close. Take a small break, and then we'll come back and you know, get into the body with some breathing and yoga, right? And go from the body into the mind in the meditation. Sounds cool? Okay. Be back in a few minutes. Okay, friends, start to stand straight. Relax your shoulders and arms at the sides. Just gently close your eyes. Feel your feet pressing the floor. Start to feel the height and the weight of the body over the feet. Feel your arms hanging at the sides. Feel the clothing touching the skin. Feel your head balanced on top of the neck. Your chin lifted up level with the floor. Feel your eyes in the socket. The point on the eyes. Feel that outline of the body. Head on top, arms at the sides, clothing touching the skin, feet pressing the floor. All of those sensations give vague feeling of the standing body. Then begin taking deep, slow breaths. 2 or 3 seconds, just expand the abdomen, ribcage, and upper chest. Hold the air in the lungs 2 or 3 seconds. Slowly breathe out, feeling the last bit of air go out of the lung. Take several more deep, slow breaths, developing this mindfulness, breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here, standing here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to combine this breathing with these movements. The movement while breathing in, holding the position for 2 or 3 seconds, returning to the starting point on the out breath. Repeating each one 3 times. Whole time, just keep the tension in the body, feeling the sensations generated by the breathing and stretching. So with the next in breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten your arms, stretch the head back, stretch upwards. Feel the sensations. Out breath, palms down, touch the top of your head. Again, in breath, palms up, straighten the arms. Stretch up, bend back a bit. Feel the sensation. Out breath, touch the top of the head. Third time, in breath. Hold the upward stretch longer, bend back a little more. Feel the arch of the spine, sensation. Release the fingers, out breath, arms back to the sides. Close the eyes, feel all the sensation, especially in the hands and fingers, clothing touching the skin, your arms and chest. Remember standing. The next in-breath, lift up on the toes, raising the arms up over the head, facing the hands toward each other, stretch up. Out breath, come back down. Feel sensation, arms and fingers. An in-breath up. Stretch. Out. Third time, in. Stretch. Out. Close the eyes, keep feeling the body. You feel the outline of the body in the mind's eye. Clothing touching the skin, the increased heartbeat, breathing quickly, each sensation, letting go of your thought. Let the thoughts come and go in the back of the mind, in the outline of the breathing body, in the front, the awareness. Standing, standing, standing. Next we'll do side bending, using both arms. On the in-breath, raise both arms up. Keep your fingers and arms straight, close to your head. On the out-breath, bend over the right side, as far as you comfortably can, keeping the arms and hands parallel to each other, like a railroad track. In-breath, lift up. On the next out-breath, bend to the other side. In-breath, again to the right, out-breath. Out. Once more to each side. Out breath, lower the arms. Close the eyes, feel the body. Feel the increased sensations, vibrations. All those vibrations are just basically sensations produced by vibrating cells, billions of cells in the body vibrating, interacting, producing all this sensation. Part of the right view. The analytical right view. This body that you think is solid is just basically billions of cells, molecules, atoms. It's just energy. The supramundane right view of the body. Okay, next we'll do the knee bending. On an in-breath, lift up on the toes, arms up front. Out breath, bend the knees, lower down. The in-breath, feel the muscles in the legs, pushing the body up. Out. In. Out. Now spread the legs apart, wider the better. Do the twisting from right to left, holding the arms out. Breathe in. The out breath, twist to the right. Keep your eyes focused on the hand going back. In breath back to the front. Let your feet turn with the body and twist to the left side. Out breath. In breath. Keep alternating sides with the breathing. Once more to each side. Relax. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Don't let the mind wander in thoughts. Was feeling some parts of the body. It's the right effort. Keep your attention focused on the body. Right mindfulness. Feeling the body as a sensation. Four elements. Solid. Fluid. Heat, motion. Analytical, right view. You practice meditation while doing the yoga, where you get more of it. Now place the hands together at the chest. Breathe in, hands over the head. Out breath, hands to the chest, bend the knees, lower down. In breath, hands over the head. Out. Now bring the legs and feet back together. And stand straight. Do the head turning from right to left. The in-breath. And the head to the right. Look over the right shoulder. Turn your eyes further to the right. See something further behind you. Out breath. Turn the head 180 degrees back to the left. Look over the left shoulder. In breath back to the right. Concentrate into the neck vertebrae. Imagine you feeling and loosening up. Out left. And right. Out left. The in-breath, let the head stop in the middle. Feel the whole body. Remember standing, standing, standing. We're going to do one last backward and forward bending exercise. It's quite powerful, so just be careful with the back bend, not to bend back. For the first time, you hold the hands in front so the edges of your hands touch each other, palms facing outwards. Involves a 2-breath sequence. On the in-breath, raise your hands up about level to your head, begin spreading them apart. Now on the out breath, let out the breath and bend further back, bringing your arms out to the sides. In breath, carefully lift up, the hands out at the sides. On the out breath, lower the arms and hands down towards the floor. And keep your legs straight. You can touch the floor with your fingers, your hands. You'll stretch in the back of the legs. You begin standing up, turn the palms outward again. The in-breath, raise the hands up. About the eye level, begin spreading the arms out. The out-breath, bend back further. In-breath, lift up. Your body shaking. Out-breath, lower the hands down towards the floor. And stretch down a little more, let the little bones in the lower spine stretch out. Muscles in the backs of the legs. Again, standing up, in breath, raising the hands up to the sides on the out breath. In breath, out breath, a downward stretch. We'll hold the downward stretch longer. Let the little bones in the lower spine stretch out. And the muscles in the back of the legs. All sensations. Standing up, in breath, bring the hands together at the chest. The out breath, hands back to the sides. Feel the whole body vibrating, pulsating. Try to feel or imagine the whole body has been washed and bathed. Healing life force, the oxygenated blood, all cells. Just allowing the awareness to rest in the present moment. Life force vibrations overwhelming mind. Can't think about anything. Present moment, body centered awareness. Okay, let's mindfully come back to our seats, ready for the sitting over. Just get comfortable in your sitting posture. Just try to sit up straight. Align the back of your head and back in a straight line. You keep your chin raised up, level, parallel with the floor. Just gently close your eyes. Just feel your eyes resting in the sockets. Feel your face muscles, or the face, relax the face muscles. Move the attention down to the body. Just feel the different parts of the body. Feel your lips touching together. Feel the base of the neck, where the clothing may touch the base of your neck. Relax the shoulders. Feel where the clothing touches the skin of the shoulders. Feel the weight of the arms hanging from the shoulders. The clothing touching the skin of the upper arm. And move the attention to the center to feel the chest. Take a deep breath to feel the expansion of the chest. The clothing rubbing against the skin of the chest as it expands and contracts. Let's keep the mind on the body. And feel the clothing touching the stomach area. And take a deep breath to feel the clothing rubbing against the skin of the stomach. And feel your hands and fingers where they touch together, where they touch your leg. Just mentally remind yourself of sitting, sitting. Now try to feel the natural inward curve of the lower spine. The lumbar vertebrae has a natural inward curve. It helps to support the upper weight of the upper body. Just try to feel or imagine that. So if you can imagine the spinal column going from the base of your spine up to the back to the base of your skull. And remember sitting, sitting. That's the analysis now. The body is sitting. You feel where the buttocks press the seat. Feel the weight of the body pressing the seat. And remember sitting, sitting. Don't allow the mind to wander in thoughts. Now feel the way the knees are bent and the legs tucked underneath. Feel your feet and toes. Try to feel the subtle tingling sensation in the feet and toes. Where the socks touch the skin of the feet. And remember sitting, sitting. Now allow the awareness to move back up and rest just behind the eyes. Kind of looking through the eyes or feel the outline of the sitting body. The eyes closed, it's like you can actually see the inside of your face. The outline of the sitting body, the head on top. Arms at the sides, clothing touching the skin, feet pressing the floor. That's body-centered awareness. Just Try to hold that outline of the sitting body in the mind's eye. Just as though you're looking into a mirror, to feel that silhouette of the sitting body. Just remember sitting, sitting, sitting. Now begin some deep, slow breathing again, like we did in the yoga session. Taking 2 or 3 seconds to expand your abdomen, rib cage, and upper chest. Hold the air in the lungs for 2 or 3 seconds. And on the out breath, feel the last bit of air go out of the lung. Just take a few more deep breaths like that, developing this mindfulness. And breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. And now we're going to count our breaths from 1 to 10. Try to develop a more continuous concentration on the breathing. Try to take slightly deeper breaths if you can. You'll feel it easier with the next expanding in breath. Mentally count to 1. I'll do the counting for you. Just try to follow that. On the contracting out breath, also count to 1. Feel the last bit of air go out. The next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In 3. Out 3. In 4. Out 4. In 5. Out 5. In 6. Out 6. in 7, out 7, in 8, out 8, in 9, out 9, in 10, out 10, now discontinue the counting. So let your breathing return to its uncontrolled, shorter, irregular rhythm. But continue to feel it, to observe it. Keep your attention focused in the center of the body. Feel the residual expanding and contracting movements of the abdomen, stomach area, rib cage, or the chest. Just knowing when the breath is coming in and knowing when the breath is going out. And knowing is that alert awareness. Just tune in to the 4 phases of each breath cycle. The expanding in breath and the brief pause. The contracting out breath and the brief pause. Just over and over and over again. Imagine that you're looking down through a microscope, observing the experiment of breathing. This breathing is caused by the expansion and contraction of the rib cage and chest. It's the mundane analysis. This body lives off this breathing oxygen in from the outside, sending it out, the heart pumping it out to the cells of the body. You can add that understanding as you're observing it. Mundane analysis. Help keep you focused, concentrated. And to help stay focused, you can use these brief mental reminders of in sitting, out sitting. It's the ongoing, continuous, present moment of this body. In sitting, out, sitting, breath by breath, moment by moment, cultivating mindfulness and concentration. Letting go of your thoughts or other thoughts, just thinking about this breathing body, the breath going in and out, the in-breath bringing in life-sustaining oxygen, and the out-breath breathing out carbon dioxide. Adding that analysis helps you to stay focused. It's applied, sustained thought. The brief pauses between the breaths, feel the outline of the posture, all the subtle sensation. Be alert for thoughts trying to sneak in and steal your attention away. Stay with the in, sitting, out, sitting. Try to notice how each breath is different, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Sometimes you feel the sensations more in the abdomen, sometimes you feel it in the rib cage or chest. It's always changing. It's developing the perception of impermanence of the breathing. Continually changing process. So many different little sensations. Notice the pauses between the breaths. Sometimes they're longer or shorter. If you catch the mind lost in thought, recognize it as lost. For thinking. Let go of the thoughts. Take a deep, slow breath. Bring the mind back to in, sitting, out, sitting. With each out breath, just allow the body and mind to relax more and more into the present moment, feeling more and more subtle sensation in and around the breathing. Just turn up the power of the mental microscope. Notice more and subtler sensation coming and going in and around and through this breathing body. Feel subtle pulsations of the heartbeat, tingling sensation, itchy sensation, little pinpricks sensation. Minor aches or pain. The more sensations you can notice, the less time for your mind to get lost in unnecessary thought of the past or future. Just understanding that all those sensations you are feeling are just basically cells, molecules vibrating, interacting, producing so many different kinds of sensations all over the body. There's the analytic right view, but you're actually feeling it. It's not just thinking about it. Try to keep the outline of the body in the mind's eye. And feel some pleasant sensation. You might feel some unpleasant sensation. Also be aware of the perceptions or thoughts moving through the mind. If you know what the 5 aggregates are, you can identify the 5 aggregates. This is material form, physical sensation. These are feelings, pleasant or painful feeling. This is perception, any mental images, names and labels of objects coming into your mind. If there's any urges to move or thoughts, those are mental formation. And even the sense of your I, me, or mine, and the consciousness. learning to identify these aggregates as just occurring on their own, as part of the right view, how they're constantly changing. Just keep turning up the power of the mental microscope. Notice more and subtler sensations. Notice how quickly everything is changing. All the bodily sensations are changing. And our thoughts, perceptions, constantly just arising, changing, vanishing. Cultivating the perception of impermanence. First level of supramundane right view. Not an intellectual idea, but observing it occurring now. Anytime the mind becomes a little fuzzy or too many thoughts, come back and take several deep, slow breaths to help re-energize the nervous system, energize the present moment of awareness. In sitting, out, out, sitting. So many sensations coming and going, sounds coming and going, pleasure, painful sensations coming and going, urges, thoughts, ideas coming and going, thoughts of I, me, or mine coming and going. These five aggregates are body and mind in constant change. basically just occurring on their own, having a life of their own. See how you're not really controlling any of it. It's cultivating that analytic understanding of this. His body sensations are not mine, his feelings are not mine, perceptions, thoughts are not mine, consciousness is not mine. This impersonal, physical, and mental phenomenon going on according to the law of karma. That's the right view. If you have a good of awareness of that, just try to become like an empty house with nobody home to answer the call, knocking on the doors and windows. But there's a sensitive microphone in the house that knows, but doesn't know. Just allow that last little remaining sense of I or me to gradually fade away out of the consciousness. Like the last bit of ice from an ice cube melting and becoming the whole bowl of water. What feelings or perceptions or thoughts arise based on that sound vibration? Sambe sankhara anicchati yada panyaya pasati atanibindati dukhi esamango visuddhiya. Dukkha patacani dukkha, bhaya patacani bhaya, sokha patacani sokha, ontu sabbe pipanino. All the five aggregates, all conditioned things are impermanent. The five aggregates of this body, mind, and world, they arise only to briefly last and then vanish. When one sees this with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to freedom. And may the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. In this way, may all beings live with mindfulness and wisdom. Thus spoke the Buddha. Now I invite you to close this meditation by joining and chanting the word sadhu 3 times. Slowly we do that chanting on long out breaths. Try to feel those vibrations in the body and mind, vibrations of the present moment. Take a deep breath. Sadhu. Now mindfully place your hands at the edge of your knees. And take one more deep breath. On the in-breath, stretch your head back, pulling the hands on the knees to arch your spine backwards. And lift the head up on an in-breath. On the out-breath, press your chin to the top of the chest to stretch the neck vertebra. Lift the chin up level on the in-breath. And relax on the out-breath. Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends. So this brings our evening meditation to an end. I hope you're all able to have some moments or longer of some better concentration, some present moment awareness, maybe some insights into impermanence, the five aggregates, or the deeper meaning of the illusion of the ego consciousness. Okay, friends, so try to keep up your meditation practice during the week. And practice, especially try to practice the M&Ms during the day. Every hour, pausing, bring your attention to the present moment, letting go of that neurotic push to the future, regrounding in the body, the present moment.
Thank you, Bhante.
Preparing your mind for the mad rush of the Christmas season, of people running around, shopping, all the other sufferings that are going on in the world.
What was that?
Need to have our mind always relaxed and centered and remembering the Dhamma. Okay? So
Reverend,
perhaps see you again next week.
I don't
Be
know.
safe, be well, be mindful, be wise. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Tewal
Bhante.
Saranai.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Sadhu. Bye.
Thank you, Bhante.
All right.
More discernment,
Bhante, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
less judging people. More discerning, less judging people. Thank you, Bhante.
Less drama, more Dhamma. That's what we need in life.
Dhamma and Dhamma.